There's a repeated, obvious, demonstrated irony that wherever you see self-proclaimed diversity, equity, and inclusion, you'll actually find the exact opposite: forced conformity, unfairness, and exclusion. There's an additional irony that those buzzwords combine to form the word die because generally, wherever they're implemented, that's exactly what happens to the institution, whether it's a business or, in today's example, a school. At Arizona State University last year, the school administration agreed to the demands of racial activists to implement a 25-step social justice plan to improve racial diversity and education on campus, one of those steps being the establishment of a multicultural center. It's been the objective of a student group for years, and with the administration's full participation, it's an objective they achieved entering this fall semester. And then immediately, seemingly unavoidably, the school space supposedly for racial and cultural unity has become the school's space for racial and cultural harassment and exclusion. And of course, not because of anybody protesting the students behind this project, but because the students behind this project are the racial bullies themselves. That's the glaring, obvious irony in this story. But the subtler irony is what this space they're now using for this multicultural inclusion used to be titled. It was formerly the Student Success Center, a place for tutoring, studying, and other academic efforts. And as of just a few weeks ago, the student racial activists behind this retitling and repurposing were enraged that the school had yet to replace the plaque on the room.
This is the room that they gave us, and what you see is they haven't even changed the plaque. How much care and effort did you put into for students of color? Because it's the first week of campus. Students of color are here and they see there's nothing for them.
Emphasis on was, of course, because this is no longer a place where ASU students go to succeed. Instead, now it's a place where they go to be harassed and bullied. Now it's a place where they go to fail, not just academically, but automatically on account of their race and their sex, and to a related extent, their political views. Earlier in the week, 2 white male students committed the atrocity of entering this multicultural space while being white males, and worse still, white males with political opinions, on a laptop sticker that says "Police Lives Matter" and a t-shirt that says "Did not vote for Biden." And their critics are even accusing them of being politically provocative with their lunch choice Chick-fil-A, because of course, eating there means you endorse every view of company management, just like you endorse clown fashion or monarchy as a political system when you make fast food choices otherwise. But the allegations that these guys were intentionally provocative have no video evidence in support. Instead, what the video recorded and posted by these racial activists themselves shows is just these guys sitting there, eating lunch, studying, minding their own business, when 2 of the activists behind the creation of this so-called multicultural center confront and accost them for offending their monoculture.
What did I do wrong?
You have a better...
You're offensive. Police lives matter?
You have the same sticker.
We're just trying to do school.
What?
You guys have the same sticker of the other.
But this is our space.
If you're wondering what their political messages are that the guy's referring to, presumably it's some sort of Black Lives Matter messaging. The camera girl shows herself wearing BLM clothing around the Multicultural Center frequently. Their political messaging is fine, yours is not. Offending you is fine, offending them is not. The double standard isn't really surprising. It's just normally you have to infer that these racial activists want different rules for white people, but in this case, no inference necessary. They just outright say that.
You're making this space uncomfortable. But you're white. Do you understand what a multicultural space? It means you're not being centered.
White's not a culture?
No, it's not a culture. It's white is not a culture. Say it again to the camera. You think whiteness is a culture?
Yeah, no culture whatsoever. Except the guy who founded your school, and the guy who granted you this multicultural space on campus, and the guy who developed the phone you used to record the video, and the guys who developed the platform where you posted the video. Just no culture at all, except for everything you're using to make the claim. Okay, fine. White people have culture too, she concedes, but it's a culture of violence and crime.
This is the violence that ASU does, and this is the type of people that they protect. What's white culture? Stealing things from people? Colonization? Co-optation? Theft?
Okay, well, the FBI maintains abundant statistics on the demographics of crime, including theft. So If we're just going to assign cultural ownership of these crimes based on frequency, I'll leave those hate numbers linked in the description to ensure that the proper culture is credited according to this logic. But to their credit, the guys being confronted never resort to such hateful counterarguments. In fact, they're very accommodating. One of them even apologizes and asks these activists where else he's allowed to be, and they tell him anywhere else, because the Multicultural Center is just the euphemistic name for what it actually is, the No White Men Center.
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to offend you guys.
I know, but this offends us automatically because these people kill people like me. We're asking you to leave if you have any consideration for people of color and are marginalized.
So clearly don't.
That I can go?
Yeah, the whole rest of the campus, every single part of the campus centers you. This is the only space that you're not centered, and you're still trying to center yourself, which is peak white cis male bullshit.
Yes, white cis male privilege is being the only demographic it's acceptable to target this way. If instead these white guys confronted these women for their peak black lesbian bullshit, their hate crime would be leading every news broadcast in the country. But since it was only white guys who were abused, nobody really cares, and it's a comparative non-story. Yet somehow they're the ones with all the special privileges. And just in case you aren't fully convinced that multicultural does not in fact mean multicultural, it just means we hate white men, these racial activists stay just as hostile when an Asian student who's supposed to be on the team of color defects and instead joins Team White Guy.
So please just don't do that.
Affecting you negatively. They're just trying to do your
Thank you.
So why should that bother you?
Because
They're just sitting here to study, and you guys went out of your way to inconvenience.
Because this
yeah, because this is our space. We fought for this shit for 5 years, since 2016. You have no idea about the labor that was created to create this space, and his. So we're saying you're no, we can't. You're violent, dude.
If multiculturalism is the value that defines this place, it's pretty weird that the objectively more multicultural team in this dispute is being shouted down and kicked out. Also pretty weird to claim ownership over a place that someone else built for you, and to claim arduous labor when you're too lazy and incapable even to deal with the sign on the place. Even that simple task is someone else's job to complete for you, while you claim that you run the place. Someone else's labor laid every brick in this building, yet the only complaints about difficult labor come from those who did none. And that's really what this is all about. Multiculturalism? No. Respecting and accommodating others? No. Building things through good, hard, honest work? Don't be ridiculous. Of course not. It's just about seizing ownership without actually doing any of the work based on flimsy claims of victimhood. I'm a victim. My skin is the right color. Therefore, I can do whatever I want, and everyone has to do what I say.
It's important to recognize why we have to do that and what a multicultural space means, because multiculturalism doesn't mean that, oh, we all come together and hold hands. It means that you provide space and you protect the most marginalized.
Eventually, these guys just give up and leave, and they pledge to talk to the school administration about being bullied and harassed away from a place that their tuition dollars pay for. And for that, they, of course, are the Karens in this situation.
Hey, let's go to the dean's office.
Yeah, this is
Go ahead, go to the dean's office. Go ahead. You can learn about this shit. They're gonna make a scene and go talk to their Karens and all of that.
And these racial activists dare the dean to do a damn thing about it.
He threatened us that he will go to the dean. We'll see what he will say to the dean, and we'll see how the dean reacts to this. And now we'll see who ASU prioritizes. Students of color in our only fucking room in this campus are white cis men who are threatening black students by saying police lives matter.
That entire premise is wrong. For the school to prioritize people on either side is wrong. You don't prioritize people with special rules or treatment. You prioritize everybody with equal rules and treatment. If it's wrong for those guys to target and abuse you, which they didn't, it's just as wrong for you to target and abuse them, whether you have the school's blessing or not. And they're daring the school to do something about it because they know, like almost every college and university in this country, the school won't do anything about it. It doesn't take courage from school leadership to stand up to this sort of harassment, just baseline commitment to principle and loyalty to customers. But of course, courage is a relative term. So I suppose for a bunch of cowards quivering at the thought that they might one day be called racist by the most pathetically weak among us, It's just far more courage than they can gather. And maybe I'm wrong. I'll give ASU leadership their chance. I don't like mobs harassing them any more than I like mobs harassing students trying to do some honest homework or eat an honest lunch, but they are taking their time. As of this recording, it's over 24 hours since that video's initial post and viral circulation, and still no mention of it. To update, right after I recorded this video, ASU did issue a generic statement saying they're investigating the incident and discussing it with the involved students. No definitive decisions issued yet. The rest of my commentary is from prior to this press release, but still stands. And I get it. Investigations are necessary. Limited video clips can sometimes be deceiving. Knee-jerk justice generally isn't justice, but you don't have to issue a verdict to explain the general rules and values in play here. You don't have to punish these women immediately to address the more meaningful questions. Is Arizona State a place where any student can do homework in any open space on campus or not? Is Arizona State a place where some students have racial control over certain areas or not? Is Arizona State a place where any tuition-paying student can expect and receive full accommodation or not? Because if those questions aren't answered swiftly and decisively, another question will be, is Arizona State a good name to have on your diploma or not? And no offense to any Sun Devils, but I think even they would concede it wasn't the most prestigious name out there to begin with. But in theory, having that degree is still certainly better than not. Any more of this nonsense, and it won't be. It'll be certainly worse than not. It won't be a demonstration to an employer of your work ethic and your achievements. Instead, it'll be a red flag warning that you're so weak and lazy that you can't even handle the supposed labor of stealing credit for someone else's work. A blank space will be more valuable than that $100,000 line on your resume. It is awfully ironic that the pitchfork is the school's logo, because now they have a pitchforkian choice to make. Are you going to cower and submit to the pitchforks of the racial mob trying to run your school? Or are you going to take that pitchfork to that mob that threatens your school instead? I just hope that after all this lengthy thought, the school sends this guy into the Multicultural Center to deliver some of that justice they claim to love so much in their full costume for maximum school spirit. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Gab, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.